Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have, as usual, a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes, Alistair Waters, Melody Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, as well as Bridge MCP, the one and only great lady from upstate New York, as well as Carl Cox and Lee Grant. Oh, our peeps are all in. And AVQL, Senor Rudnan. How are my peeps doing today? I feel like we are all doing very well, very well, very well, very well. Anyhow, before I want to start on a rant, the Houston Independent School District was taken over by the state of Texas. Remember that Republicans who control the state of Texas have continuously talked about local control, have continuously talked about parents' rights, but then they bring in a former military and unqualified superintendent to run the school and take it over and ignore parents and ignore everybody else. But to do what he thinks he wants to do. This is a guy who I believe owns a charter school or works with charter schools. So we know the intent of these guys is to privatize as much as they can the Houston Independent School District, which is something nobody in this area wants, nor should it ever be done. We should not be taking taxpayer dollars to enrich people who run private schools that underpay teachers and underperform schools, even bad schools. So let's be clear here. Charter schools do no better, but generally worse than public schools, and they're generally not accredited because they don't need to use certified teachers. And in fact, the person that is running our school district is not certified. So, I mean, let's get that straight. Texas is trying to destroy Harris County because it's a blue county in the state, and it's one that only way they can control is through authoritarian methods. Well, yesterday we had a big win in the state, in the Supreme Court, that they had gone so far wanting to control what could be declared as laws in Houston, right? I think it was called the Death Star Bill, which was telling all the counties like Houston, Harris County, etc., you can't pass laws that protect your citizens. You can't pass laws that force companies to make sure that you don't kill your employees by not giving them water. If a particular county or state or a county in the state of Texas wants to pass a law to protect people, to protect the environment, the state of Texas, unlike what it preaches, which is local control, wanted to tell you what to do. So just like they have taken over HISD, the Houston Independent School District, and starting to run it like a communist country, it's the same that they were trying to do with counties. They've already taken over, made sure that if they want to, they can take over the voting mechanism within Harris County. This is an attempt to make Harris County a communist county ruled by the communist leader of Texas, which is whom again? Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick. But again, remember, folks, 2024 is coming, and you have a job to do. First of all, to fill up the Texas State House and the Texas State Senate with progressives. Now, one other thing that we must do, one other thing that we must do is remember this. We must remember this, that the person who put the final nail in the coffin that allowed the state of Texas to take over these schools is none other than Representative Harold Dutton. I want everybody in Harris County who votes in District 142, House District 142, House District 142, being represented by Harold Dutton. Listen up, District 142. All of you been run in District 142 by Harold Dutton. It is imperative going forward that whomever is running against Dutton, Harold Dutton Jr., must be the person elected in that district. It's a very democratic district, so whoever wins that district will be the state representative. So here are your marching orders for everybody in Texas House District 142. Harold Dutton must be defeated because he is the one who was the final arbiter to allow a communist governor, or I shouldn't say, I'm sorry, not communist governor, a fascist governor. Senor Rudnin, thank you, or Carl Cox, thank you for making that correction. Thank you. Not a communist governor, a fascist governor, for appointing a fascist loving what's it take school? What's these school? These private school loving, charter school loving superintendent to run the school. Let me tell you what else these folks have done. In minority schools that are mostly Latino and Black in the district, they have converted libraries into detention centers. They don't give it the name detention centers, but they have converted this is Houston, Texas School District. The Houston, Texas School District have converted libraries and you know what is so ironic? That our governor used a Black man to come into a mostly Black and Latino district and create jails in these schools. And I'm getting hyperbolic when I say jails in these schools, but to put jails in these schools, in underperforming schools, and remove libraries. So here is a deal. You bring a Black person to do the job that the KKK could do no better. Turning a school, instead of bringing more books to a school that needs help, instead of bringing more instruction to a school that needs help, you create detention centers. Remember the name, Harold Dutton. I want everybody listening and share the word. In District 142, Harold Dutton must be defeated. That's the first one that must pay the price for the attack on the Houston Independent School District. The second person, of course, is Dan Patrick and the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. You have your marching orders, my brothers and my sisters, in Texas District 142 and in the entire state of Texas. It is imperative that we do that. All right, let me go ahead and start reading some of the commentary here. Welcome aboard. Let's see if there's anybody else that I need to salute. E2247, welcome aboard. Lee Grant, welcome aboard. May Wood, welcome aboard. And Mary E. Martin, welcome aboard. Thank you very much. Let's start reading now. Abbott is a communist. What? No. I stand corrected. No, he's a fascist, not a communist, a fascist. Thank you so kindly for correcting me. Daniel Edo says, Greg Abbott is a communist. No, he's a fascist. I made a mistake. Forgive me, guys. Forgive me. Mary E. Martin says, the so-called Houston school supervisor was on NBC last night. He's a mealy-mouthed person who is firing all the school librarians to save money. Both my parents were trained librarians. What's interesting is they brought a TikTok I should have brought it, had a little skit on the guy. He's a recycled peon. You know, he goes from district to district to district and does nothing successful for these districts. But what's interesting is the same speech. He's so dumb. He recycles speeches, right? So what they did is they showed the pep speech that he gave recently, just recycled here for Texas. It's amazing. And what is his job? To go ahead and get rid of libraries and turn them into detention centers for students in these schools. You know, as opposed to realizing that the way you make a school better is by educating people. All right. So I agree with you, Mary E. Martin. Remember, Mary, share these shows and make sure that Harold V. Dutton Jr. is no longer 142nd representative. We must make sure to have an all-out campaign to get rid of Harold V. Dutton, District 142 representative. It's imperative that he be placed out of office. Michael Rodden says Republicans don't want people who critically think. Republicans want obedient workers who will maintain the economy and the status quo. That's why education system sucks. Exactly. Carl Cox says Abbott is a Nazi fascist, not a communist. You're correct. And again, Carl Cox, I stand corrected. Eric Hayes says, oh, the Dutton Ranch, I thought that was Montana. No, the Dutton Ranch is, we shouldn't call the Dutton Ranch. Dutton belongs on a damn plantation. All right, let's see what we go. Mary E. Martin says, with master's degrees, it's an absolute travesty to disparage libraries. I absolutely agree. Eric Hayes, communist governments are in Venezuela and China, and I won't touch that anymore. Michael Runner says, Berto, every once in a while, have a brain slip moment too. Don't worry about it. Thank you for my forgiveness, my dear Michael Rutnan. E2247 says, no, the state is not forced to step into HISD, but it does so by whole to ban books and librarians. Language students want to use the talk about race and history and such. Exactly, my dear E2247. Maywood says, good afternoon, everyone. Did I find today's live show this time? Yes, you did, Maywood. We are live. Deborah Dunlap says, the forced military takeover of HISD is dropping library, and she's watching us from LinkedIn. The forced military takeover of HISD is dropping libraries for the purpose of turning schools into fascist-run re-education camps. Agreed. E2247 says, Melanie Keelan and Bridge, welcome aboard. Michael Rudden is in the house as well. And Melanie says, I think I saw Gregory Abbott at a meeting recently. Wouldn't surprise me. Daniel Edo says, laughing, Abbott is now not a communist but a fascist. You know, again, guys, I begged for forgiveness, okay? He is a fascist, not a communist. My mistake. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, get rid of the bad apples in the school. Why should teachers have to put up with bad kids that beat people and do drugs? No, they don't have to do that, nor do we want to do that. But for the specific kids that are causing problems, get them out of school and put them in the appropriate areas. But you do not deny the entire school of a library because of the bad apples in that school. That is exactly what's wrong. And like I said, you would have never, ever seen any time that some administrator go into, let's say, a white school and say we are going to remove the libraries. These indignities are only done in schools where there are people of color predominantly. You will never see this act in any other school of this nature. And then they bring a confounded person that folks won't say, oh, it's a black guy who's doing that, so it couldn't be racist why we're doing this at HISD. Not at all. It couldn't be that we want to turn this stuff into charter schools to enrich the rich even further. No, look who's doing it. Well, of course, the one who's doing it is one who owns charter schools as well. All right, let's keep on moving. Eric Hayes says, Egberto, get rid of the... No, I read that already. E2247 says, drums of U.S. and NATO war against China. I want to stick to this other subject for the time being. E2247. Lee Grant says, Greg Abbott, Texas, this year, I signed a law to reclassify fentanyl death as poisonings and prosecution fentanyl deaths as murder. We will hold accountable those who poison innocent Texans. Texas is ramping up our efforts to save more lives from deadly fentanyl. And I want to change the law as well, Gregory Abbott. Those who deny Texans health care that was already given to them by the United States government, and that the government of Texas is preventing them from having. People who die from the lack of health care. I want it to be considered murder as well. And in that way, Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, and all Republicans who voted against the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, they are now murderers. So if you're going to call fentanyl a drug, people who dispense fentanyl and somebody dies from taking fentanyl a drug that requires it to be defined as murder, then I agree that Greg Abbott as well should be charged with murder for not accepting the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, which would have prevented many Texans from dying. So again, fentanyl causes death. Those who provide fentanyl should be considered murder. Not providing health care that is available, not dispensing health care that the federal government is given to your states and to your citizens in the states, that should be considered murder as well. So I agree. I thank you for pointing that out, Lee Grant. Let's all now consider our governor, our lieutenant governor, and the Republicans in the House of the Texas legislature and the senators in the Texas legislature, they are all then murderers for allowing Texans to die for the lack of insurance they should have had that they're being denied. Okay? Egberto, you are bashing Dutton, a Dem brother of yours. I am not restricted to attacking people of any party. If you are doing wrong, and I hope you realize that, and you should learn that, Eric Hayes, you should learn that we should not be talking party, we should be talking humanity. Not party, but humanity. And when you go against humanity, irrespective of party, you should be addressed. You should pay the price for doing such a thing. All right, let's see. Eric Hayes says, but no one reads in school anymore. Do they always on their phones, right? Wait a minute. There are many people who continue to use the library, and the library has evolved to more than paper books. The library has evolved to have a librarian who can give assistance both electronically and otherwise, but the idea is the library is a safe space of study. Whether you're studying on a phone, on a paper book, on a pad, on a tablet, it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter. They would have never done this in certain schools. You would never see this in Kingwood, Texas. You would never see this in Kingwood, Texas. Abbott, E2247 says, Abbott is also a neo-colonial dictator just like DeSantis, number 45 of all. Absolutely so. Norman is in the house. Welcome aboard, Norman Reynolds. My dear brother. Michael Ronan says, Eric Hayes, just like you have rhinos in your GOP, there are establishment hacks versus progressives in the Democratic Party. Sometimes the hacks need a primary challenge for cause. And this is the case, Brother Rudnin. We must challenge, again, Representative Harold V. Dutton must be challenged. He has a challenger right now, and I can't remember his name, but I will make sure to have him on our program, the one who will be challenging this traitor to his people. And to his people, who do I mean? District 142 and the entire Houston Independent School District. All right. Mary E. Martin says, yes, get rid of them. And that's what we're going to do. The campaign has already begun to unseat Dutton. The campaign has already begun to unseat Dutton. It must be done. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Carl Cox says, right on Twitch. Thank you so kindly. Let's see. Eric Hayes says, Harold is a person from the 5th Ward, and we have somebody from the 5th Ward that will defeat him for the tyranny that he has committed against the kids of Houston. Lee Grant says some of the schools are bad that the only way you get kids is to go to the library, is to imprison them there. No, and listen to your words. Listen, Lee Grant gets it right. Thank you, Lee Grant. You got it right. Listen to what Lee Grant said. Some of these schools are so bad that the only way you're getting kids to go to the library is to imprison them there. You notice his choice of words? Imprison them there. That is the outward look of what is occurring on the inside. But let's be practical here. You go to any one of these schools. Let's even say you had a maximum of 20% of the kids that are really, really bad, right? You extricate that, but you don't make those good kids who want to learn at that school pay the price for those kids who are disruptive. You find a solution for the disruptive kids. Guess where they have a good solution for that? Here in Kingwood, Texas. We have a school district called the Humble ISD, but it's a mostly white district. And you know what they do for really bad kids? Let me tell you what they do they have they have schools within our schools. For the really bad kids, the ones that create disruption in the schools, they know how to take care of that. But they invest in doing these things. Now, the Houston Independent School District is a rich district. It's richer than the Humble ISD. It has more money than the Humble ISD. It just has the wrong people. It has more money, the Houston Independent School District, than Humble ISD, because Humble ISD is funded mostly by taxes from local homes and small businesses. Houston has a whole big tax base to work with. Folks, you've got to understand what's going on here, my brothers and my sisters. And when you get a turncoat that goes ahead and does what he does, it's amazing. He must go, he must go, he must go. All right, let's see what else we got here. Daniel Ado says, why don't you want to get Charles Cunningham out of District 14? Your district, it's because he is black? Wait a minute. First of all, Charles, I know Charles Cunningham perfectly. I've had several conversations with Charles. Charles will never get my vote because Charles support the conservative ideology that hurts a lot of people. But Charles, I don't think is a bad guy either. But I know him personally, by the way. Okay. Let's see. Lee Grant thinks libraries are prisons. Whoa, that's some kind of mindset. That's my point. And that's a shared mindset. That's a shared mindset that was promoted to get an evil person like Mike Miles to come into our district and really destroy it. Eric Hayes says, all schools are equal, so stop with the gaslighting. All schools are not equal. And again, you are gaslighting if you say all schools are equal. First of all, there's a discrepancy with how schools are funded in Texas. Please educate yourself if you're going to make a comment. Egberto, pardon a rant, just a thought about why we need critical thinking taught in our schools. Create lifetime learners who can see through the nonsense they are going to encounter on internet echo chambers. It's scarier to believe that the world is a chaotic place where no one is in charge than it is to believe that there is an evil man responsible for all the harm being caused. Never attribute to malice what can be explained with greed and or incompetence. Whether a child learns critical thinking, somewhere a conspiracy theory dies. Exactly. Bruce Pollard says, parents need to learn how to be parents. Yeah, parents need to learn how to be parents, but who teaches them? If you have a system that continually recreates the same kind of poverty, the same kind of the only solution is we have education in such a manner that people can grow out of their condition. We've had a lot of these talks before. How do people grow out of their condition, right? But we don't really want people to grow out of their condition. So Bruce, while it is absolutely true, parents should be parents, where are the policies we have to really parent parents? Because if a parent had a parent that wasn't a parent, how do we intend for them to be a real parent? Look, I was lucky in life. I consider having had the best dad in the world and the best mother in the world. And I'm glad I've told my dad that before he died, and I'm glad I've always told my mother that. We never saw eye to eye continuously, but they were there for me, and they instilled the character that I have in me. And it's not by accident, because it's in me, it's in my two sisters as well. But they also had within them good parenting as well. But there are people who are systemically programmed for bad parenting because of much historical reasons here. And I am empathetic to that and say we can't just say be a better parent. We have to teach how to be a better parent. We have to make a better parent possible with policies that assist them. If somebody is working 24/7, how can they be a good parent? How can they not leave kids at home that creates the problems that we have? Kids that are unsupervised, etc. It's an entire system that needs correcting. We should learn a few things from the Danish and the Finnish systems, right? So it's all encompassing. Michael Rudnin says, agreed that when private health insurance corporations prevent people from getting the necessary health care, they deserve a systemic measure that they should be depraved heart murder case. I agree. Daniel will say, whoa, what a bleak world Egberto lives in. To him, all Republicans are either fascists or murderers. No, only the fascist ones are fascists, and only the murderers are murderers. The ones in Austin, Texas are murderers. The ones who do not support the Medicaid expansion for the Affordable Care Act, they're murderers. I don't take that back at all. All right, let's see. Deborah Dunlap says, not to mention Abbott's murder of immigrants via deadly buoys. Again, there's a woman who called into KPFT this morning on the on the U Talk with Steve Hunter, and her statement was the follow. I used to vote the person. That means sometimes I voted for a Republican person here, a Democratic person here. She says, I will no longer touch the Republican Party because there is a certain meanness. There is a certain evil that has engulfed the party. That came from a woman who was a true person. I don't call her in the middle. She voted for people who voted for humanity. Okay? All right, Egberto, Blue is party and other. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Michael Lorenzo, Egberto, there are some issues that should transcend party. For example, global warming is an existential threat. You're correct. And the question should be, how do we forestall climate change? Not how do we deny it? Exactly. Mary E. Martin says, Lee Grant, it sounds like you didn't enjoy your time in school libraries. That is really too bad, as I have a very fond memories of the quiet time and, yes, a safe space afforded by libraries. And you know what? I found my university in a library at Arco East High School in Panama. The first university I had planned to attend then was Lamar University until I got a music scholarship to Blinn College, and then I dumped that to go to University of Texas for engineering. So I mean, libraries, you do a lot of good things in libraries. It helps a lot, etc., etc. Bruce Fowler says, not sure what you mean, Eric. You're lucky. Eric says, Egberto, you should invite Harold over for dinner and talk out with coffee. Nope, he's already committed the unforgivable sin. The unforgivable sin is that he has already gotten the HISD to be controlled by the fascist. I break bread with every human being. I break bread with every average American citizen. I don't break bread with evil politicians at all. I abstract politicians, the people who are making the rules, than to my brethren. whether Republican, and I don't care who you are, just not a politician, but those in power that deceive, I have nothing to do with them, nor would I have any interest in having a coffee with him. He's beneath having a coffee with. All right, let's continue. Deborah Dunlap says, and the 225 Texans who died because of Abbott's crony Ron Urquhart's mismanagement of grid during the Texas freeze. Yeah, there's a lot to convict Abbott for all the misdeeds that he's done. You want to talk about what you want fentanyl as a murdering device? There's a lot more that's died that had nothing to do with fentanyl, but had everything to do with the governor. All right, let's see. Daniel says, you know what is disrupted in school? Let's get to another one. Michael Renner says, Eric Hayes, jail for the bad apples. We talking cops. Them too. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Deborah Dunlap says, what them is running against Dutton? What the heck was he thinking? I tell you what, I think I have, listen, I don't know. And, you know, assuming that I know, I will not allow myself to be sued by somebody who's already doing evil on its own. But one should ask, or one should probably go monitor who gives him money. One should monitor how much he receives from charter schools, etc. I don't know, but I said one should probably monitor those things, right? All right, let's see. E2247 says critical thinking skills or analyses, evaluation and creation that are based on previously mastered and critical thinking skills of remembering, understanding, of applying. Daniel Ledo says, let's see what he said here. I don't read that one. Para ver qué más tengo que hacer. Let's see what else I've got here. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me, guys. Para ver. We have Eric Hayes says the Pledge of Allegiance is indoctrination. I thought you were against that. I might recommend you take a listen to comedian Doug's. You don't have to listen to that. That's a good one to listen to, but I like my other guy. I'll remember his name a little later. All right, let's see what else we got. Michael Renza, Egberto, thanks for reading out my stream of consciousness rant. Well, because it makes sense. That's why I read it out. Let's see what else we got here. Eric K says, bring back workshops like garage and plumbing. I agree. And HVAC teaching. I agree. Might be able to give bad apples something to do. It doesn't have to do with bad apples. Why would you just say bad apples want to be plumbers, or bad apples want to work with their hands, or bad apples want to do woodworking? People may just want that as a profession. It has nothing to do with bad apples. A bad apple doing woodwork is no different than a bad apple doing engineering. I know a lot of bad apples that I worked with as engineers. I went to school with in engineering that were dope-headed bad apples. So please, again, you're showing your elitism with that statement, my dear brother. Michael Rudden says, Eric Hayes agreed. Shop classes should be an optional course in high school. We need to be teaching trade skills to those who want to make a career from that. And again, that has nothing to do with the bad kids going to trade schools. That's not the case at all. All right, let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Eric Hayes says, bad parenting can come from being debtors, etc. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. But anyhow, Melanie Keelan says, cooking, sewing, I agree. Drawing, exactly. Critical thinking skills are to critical race theory as applesauce is to peanut butter, or as melons are to orange. Totally different focus and attention. All right, let's see what else we got here. Daniel Edo says, your parents instilled character in you. I think they failed. It takes an extreme lack of character to lie, gaslight, accuse, slander, and promote racism and division. So maybe don't publicly shame your parents like that. Well, I guarantee you, Brother Ledo, that you would be one of the few that believe I do any one of those things that you just mentioned. Remember what I say about many people who make those accusations. They actually are putting a mirror in front of them, because what they're doing again is projecting. Again, Daniel Ledo, stop projecting. Carl Cox says insurance companies only believe in wealth excess profits. To hell with life of their patients. Bridge MCP says, I think DL parents failed miserably. Look at what he's become, a racist, misogynistic, pompous, hide behind a keyboard cult member with blinders on and probably testicles. I will touch that one, Bridge. You're hurting. Hey, Bridge, you're putting me in trouble. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, Daniel Adosa, LOL. And again, Egberto destroys an argument with a subjective story of his personal experience. Solid debate technique. Well, if that's what you think. Anyway, yesterday I promised you that I would process the video from Netroots about a very bright young lady talking about ranked choice voting. I think you guys are going to like this one. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm here with Rebecca Ratliff, and she is going to talk about FairVote Illinois. This is an important concept that you guys, a voting pattern you guys know we've spoken about a lot. Welcome to Politics Done Right, my friend. How are you doing today?
So happy to be here.
Look, first of all, tell me why your existence in this movement.
Yeah, so FairVote Illinois is a single issue organization. We are all about getting ranked choice voting across the state of Illinois. And the reason why we exist is because ranked choice voting is really it's a statewide issue. It's not something that we can get nationally.
Right.
Every state has to have a group working on it.
Right.
So we're the one for Illinois.
So this is part of a national together movement,
Yes.
but it has to be done on a statewide basis because voting in this country is done statewide.
Absolutely, yeah. We have wonderful national organizations working on this. There's FairVote, just
Right.
just
Right.
FairVote, and there's also Rank the Vote, who's here at the conference with
Right.
us as well. They work nationally to, support all of our statewide efforts, but we're the Illinois
So let me
org.
see if I understand this right. There's an organization called Rank the Vote, correct? And Rank the Vote and FairVote, your FairVote Illinois organization support the Rank the Vote method of doing.
Yeah, well, Rank the Vote really supports us.
Or Rank the Vote supports you.
Yeah, Rank the Vote just, they work with all sorts of different states. They work to just help us with our efforts and also kind of connect us, because a win for ranked choice voting in any state is really a win for all of us.
Absolutely.
Because the more we normalize it, the more people see that places are using it.
Right.
The more likely other places are to adopt it.
Now, explain what the voting method that you guys are trying to do, because a lot of people don't quite get it, which they need to, because I think it does several things. One, you only need one election. And with that one election, you don't have to have runoffs or anything. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let's go. I just gave a synopsis. You tell us exactly how it works.
Yeah. So the way ranked choice voting works is it's a simple upgrade to our voting system that is really about giving voters more voice and more choice. And it does that by allowing us to rank multiple candidates on the ballot, as opposed to what we do now, where we're just putting one. So we're ranking them first, second, third choice, if we so choose. So with this system, a candidate always has to have that majority support to win, 50% plus one. So you brought up, sometimes in our current system, depending on the state, depending on the city, we have to have runoffs.
Right.
Because they say, hey, you need a majority. Oh, no one got that. Well, now we're going to make voters come out for a second election.
Right.
With ranked choice voting, often called instant runoff voting, you do not have to do that, because you already have everyone's backup choices.
Right.
And it's much more
It's fairer.
It's much more accurate.
Yes.
Yeah, it's much more accurate at getting at voter preference, because, when you do a runoff, sometimes you have a really crowded field, like what just happened in Chicago. We had 9 mayoral candidates. And with that situation, it's just the top 2 that went to the runoff. So we eliminated 7 all at once. With ranked choice voting, the way it happens is someone doesn't get the majority, we eliminate the person with the lowest amount of votes, because they don't have a chance of winning, and we redistribute those second choices. If still no one has a majority, we continue that process again and again until we have it. So for the voter, this makes it so they don't have to worry about things like wasting their vote. Maybe if they want to vote for a lesser known candidate or a third party. It also, eliminates the issue of the spoiler candidate. Also eliminates the issue of vote splitting. Maybe there are a few candidates in the same ideological lane,
Right.
Same race, and people want to coalesce
Right.
behind them. Right now, you have to really be concerned with the issue of splitting the vote.
Right.
No more with ranked choice voting.
I mean, it's a great concept, and it's a really democratic concept, because what it
Yes.
does, it more closely reflects what the population really, really wants.
Absolutely.
Now, some people will look and say, well, you know what? The issue with ranked choice voting is that we've had an example of a fiasco in New York.
Mm-hmm.
New York had an issue where they did ranked choice voting, and somehow it took them days,
Sure.
weeks to get the results. The reality is that's not necessary. The reality is this could all be done quickly after all the ballots are received. I mean, the fact that you have people mailing in ballots and all that sort of stuff, all those ballots have to be in before you actually get a result, because ranked choice is how it works.
Yes. So with ranked choice voting, some people will say it takes so long and
Right.
everything. There's nothing about ranked choice voting that makes it an inherently longer process.
Right.
What can sometimes cause that delay, maybe a couple more days than what we're used to or something, is just the individual state or municipality laws
Right.
on how long of a grace period there is to receive mail-in ballots or
Exactly.
absentee ballots. It also depends on how many people in the area are using those
Right.
methods of voting. So how big a percentage of the ballots are
Right.
coming in after the fact and everything. So with ranked choice voting, yes, we're looking at every vote,
Right.
and sometimes those races might be kind of tight. So we do need to wait until we have all the ballots
And
in.
interestingly, if you
Yeah.
have a tight race anyway, many
Yes.
times you have
If
to
you
wait.
have a tight-
because
yes.
if you have a
In
person that
Chicago-
got 50 plus 1,
Yeah. In Chicago, there were some aldermanic races
Yeah.
that we had to wait a couple weeks from the February election. That was the
Right.
first election, and then the runoff was in April.
Right.
There were 2 or 3 weeks before we even knew if some aldermanic races were going to a runoff.
and it wasn't ranked choice.
And it wasn't ranked choice.
Right, there you
so
go.
it's just a matter of if it's tight and if you're having to wait for a lot of mail-in ballots, which is the same thing that happens now. And I say to people, if we have a runoff situation, I mean, we had to wait from February until April to figure
Right.
out who the mayor was in
Right.
Chicago.
Right.
We would have figured it out a heck of a lot sooner if we had ranked choice voting.
And that's the magic, right?
Yeah.
That because you get
And
a
same
result.
thing with Georgia.
There you go.
Every
You get a
every
result
2
right
years, we've got to wait like a whole other month with Georgia.
It seems to me that the only thing holding back a ranked choice voting is education, which is what your organization is trying to provide.
Absolutely. Our organization, we certainly advocate for ranked choice voting on the municipal and ultimately the statewide level,
Right.
but a huge part of our work is just that, that citizen education, talking to people on the street, talking to people at wonderful conferences like this,
Right.
giving presentations to organizations,
Right.
because most people, when they learn about ranked choice voting,
right.
they like it.
Because you can
Yeah.
finally choose a candidate you really think you want to, not you think,
Yes.
but you want to win, but you don't screw up the election by voting the best of two evils or something like, you don't run into the best of two evils now because you hope you have a plethora of candidates to choose from.
Exactly.
And then you no longer waste your vote. It makes a whole lot of sense. And with folks like you going out there and educating folks as what needs to be done or how it works, I think it'll play a part. I had 2 great interviews on voting today.
Okay.
One was mail-in voting at home, meaning everybody should have access to the ballot immediately, and ranked choice voting. Imagine if we could institute both of those policies now.
Yeah.
We would have a real democracy.
Absolutely.
What would you like me to ask you that I didn't?
Oh gosh, just how people can help in Illinois or any other state that they're in.
Go for it.
Yeah, so if you are in Illinois, FairVote Illinois is the group that you want to get involved with. You can go to fairvoteillinois.org, sign up on our site. You can find us at FairVote Illinois on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the socials. And then if you aren't in Illinois, go ahead and check out rankthevote.org. They'll get you in touch with whatever your statewide group is.
Rebecca, thank you so kindly for being a part of
Thank you.
for being a parent on Politics Done Right. And thank you for the work you do, because that's some important work.
Thank you for your support.
You have a great day now.
You too.
All right. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. I wanted to make sure and let everybody see the people who produced that video. That video was made by all the videos that I did from Netroots Nation came into existence because of the wonderful support from many of you that are watching the program right now, who supported all that we did at Netroots in Chicago. And we still have quite a few more interviews to show, including the Attorney General from Connecticut and so forth, that I still haven't processed yet because of many other interviews that need to come in. By the way, the person that is running against Dutton right now, Harold Dutton, is Clint D. Horn. Clint D. Horn is the person running against Dutton, and I actually met him at the at Los Cucos when the Humble Area Democrats met, and I recorded I think I recorded his I gotta look it up. I recorded his speech. But Clint Dutton is the person who will be running to replace the traitor who turned the Houston Independent School District over to the fascists that are now controlling it. So folks, remember the name right now. Clint D. Horn is the person who is running against the guy who turned the district over to the fascist. Anyway, let's continue. Michael Rudden says, yes, the only downside to ranked choice voting is that people might not understand the system at first, so you might have one bad election during the switch. Progress isn't always smooth. All voting one day, national holiday, and be done. Again, Eric, that is where I ask you sometimes to step back and think. The ranked choice voting doesn't solve the problem about everybody voting on the same day. If everybody vote on the same day and there are 4 candidates, you can still end up with having to do a runoff. Ranked choice voting saves money. It's a conservative thing. It saves money by not having to have several elections, number 1. And number 2, it gives people the option to first vote their heart, the person that they really want to give their vote to, whether that person is viable or not, but then progressively give the persons that they next want to support. And by doing so, the person who ultimately has the majority support of the most people ultimately becomes the winner. It is simple, it is scientific, but again, one of the reasons the right does not promote critical thinking is because, again, critical thinking makes a lot of good things happen. All right. Macaron says, Eric Hayes, yes, election day as a national holiday is one way to go, but making election a day weekend, even in an alternative, early voting by way of mail-in votes, another option. But again, like I said, Rodney, the ranked choice voting, that still doesn't solve the problem that ranked choice voting would solve, and that is making sure that the better candidate wins. Because even, let's say, third-party candidate with ranked choice voting then has a chance. All right. Mary E. Martin says, yeah, oh, that's a communication with Bridge. Let me scroll down a bit more. Michael Rowan says, great interview. Thank you, sir. Breach says, so practically related. All right. Breach says, good interview. Thank you, Breach. Let's see what else we got here. I'm scrolling down, guys. I'm scrolling down. Daniel Ado says, he probably has you blocked to protect his fragility. I don't know what that means. But anyhow, Breach says, Egberto Willis, we watching Ali Velshi challenges coup planner. I will play that right away. It's a short one, so I can do this really. Mary Martin says, excellent video. Thank you, Egberto. You're welcome, Mary E. Martin. Okay, John Eastman went on TV and he went ahead and he claimed that he challenged anybody to find anything in his data that pointed out he did something illegal or pointed out he wanted to go against, what the law says. And Ali Velshi to that says, yes, 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 I will take the challenge. I will take the challenge. And you know what? Eastman, I tell you, these clowns really don't know what they're doing. I want you to check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Chesebro and Powell have all invoked Georgia's Speedy Trial Act, trying to get their cases to court before all the other defendants in the case. Another co-defendant, Trump lawyer John Eastman, says he intends to do the same. Now, we don't know who the courts will side with on that particular question, but if those defendants think they're going to have an easier time on their own, they may want to rethink their strategy. Just last night, listen to this one. John Eastman, also a co-defendant, gave an interview to Fox News where he issued this challenge.
On the RICO side of the Fulton County case, that would require findings of bad faith. That would have to be you all basically agreeing implicitly, explicitly, that y'all knew that this was all phony. And to that you say?
Well, they've got all the evidence. They've got all my emails. My phone was seized over a year ago, so they've got all that stuff as well. And I challenge them to find a single email or communication that supports that implausible theory.
Challenge accepted. John Eastman wants to see an email where he admits that this isn't all above board. Okay, how about this one? It's in the January 6th indictment sent by John Eastman to then Vice President Mike Pence's chief counsel, in which he says, I implore you to consider one more relatively minor violation of the Electoral Count Act and adjourn for 10 days to delay to allow the legislatures to finish their investigations, as well as to allow a full forensic audit of the massive amount of illegal activity that has occurred here. Okay, how about this one, where he tells Rudy Giuliani, I've decided that I should be put on the pardon list, if that's still in the works.
These guys active that they forget that there are tapes. They forget there are videos. You really wonder why they don't think critically. Oh, it's because they don't believe in critical thinking. Anyhow, we have another one as well, and this one has to do with the gerontocracy. Charlie Syke gets it right, and this goes for all parties. It is time for us to have young progressive take over the country. Young progressives, where are you? Charlie Sykes is pretty right here. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I've covered him for many, many decades, and it's just painful to watch it. But it does raise issues about health and age and competence for a key player. And it also can't be comfortable for the White House with all of the polling recently showing that, widespread concern and from bipartisan concern about the president's health.
No, it is very painful to watch this. It is really alarming, and you hope that there are people around him who will get him the best medical care. But to your point, Mitch McConnell is one of the most consequential, powerful members of the United States Senate. But this is a reminder how fragile power can be in a gerontocracy. And this is one of those moments you step back and you think, okay, we think we know what's going to happen in American politics, but when you have figures who have these health problems, the unexpected is always there. And I hope people react with nuance. I hope they react with compassion. But this is kind of a warning shot that when you have people, who have health problems and who have decided not to step aside, there can be these kinds of difficulties. And I hope that people react with restraint to this, but we don't live in an age of either nuance, restraint, or compassion, do we?
He nailed it, but he's right. I think it is time for the older folks in the Senate, the older folks in Congress, and yes, the older folks in the presidency or aspiring to be president, to really not think about the goals that they want for themselves, but what's best for the country. And I say that across the board. And I hope it's not too late, but I hope people sort of refigure things in such a manner that we don't get accidents where accidents are unwarranted. And I won't be very more specific than that. Anyhow, folks, please, please, please support our program. How can you support our program? Simply visit politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support, and that gives you all the different options to support our program. Likewise, I'd like to ask you to please support our newsletter. Our newsletter can be found at, it's a Substack newsletter. You can support it by, a paid subscription is very inexpensive, and it really helps us out here to really continue bringing you the absolute truth. At politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please subscribe. It's like saying, you know what? I think I want to buy Politics Done Right a coffee a month. I mean, that's all. A coffee a month. If you think it's worth the amount of work that we do to make sure and bring all of this to you, if you think it's worth it, please go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter. We are way behind. I would love to have 1,000 paid subscriptions on our newsletter. We're not there, not even close to being there. We probably have, I don't know, maybe 5% of that. So please go ahead and consider supporting us at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Like to be able to do this and do a lot bit more. We'd love to be able to hire some part-time work helpers here, because it's very hard work doing the videos, writing the blogs, writing the books, all that stuff. So please, if you can, to make sure we can continue doing this, please go ahead and support us at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, a coffee a month, or find any other method that you want to support us by simply going to politicsdoneright.com/support. We cannot do this without you. My name is Egberto Willies. I want to thank all of you for being here, both my lefties, my righties, my middlies, and everything else. Thank you so kindly for being here. Thank you for your constancy. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.